20 powerful adjectives in English from espressoenglish.net. Are you tired of using the same basic and boring words in English? In today's lesson, you'll expand your vocabulary by learning powerful adjectives. Number 1. Deafening means extremely noisy. For example, there was a deafening roar as the rocket ship blasted off. Number 2. Excruciating. This means very painful. For example, I have an excruciating headache. I can't even think straight. Number 3. Destitute means very poor. For example, he grew up in a destitute family that barely had enough food to eat. Number 4. Devastating means very damaging or upsetting. It can refer to physical damage. For example, the town was destroyed by a devastating flood. Remember, a flood is a natural disaster where there is too much water, causing damage to buildings and houses. The word devastating can also refer to great emotional impact. For example, they received the devastating news that their son was in a coma. Number 5. Gorgeous means very beautiful. For example, wow, those flowers are absolutely gorgeous. After he lost weight, he started dating a gorgeous woman. The word gorgeous is a little more feminine and is usually used to describe women, not men, as well as objects like the flowers. Number 6. Swamped means very busy. For example, I have 5 major projects to finish by the end of this week. I'm totally swamped. This is an informal way to say that you are overwhelmed with work. You have far too much work, and so you're very busy. Number 7. Packed means very crowded. For example, the stores were packed on the day before Christmas. Everyone was doing last-minute shopping. In the picture, you can see an outdoor festival that is packed. There are so many people that there's barely any room to move. Number 8. Thrilled means very happy or excited. For example, Joanna's parents were thrilled to hear that she'd won a full scholarship to college. A full scholarship means a program that will pay for your entire college education. Number 9. Horrific and horrifying mean very shocking or scary. For example, 50 people were badly injured in a horrific accident at the factory. The prospect of a nuclear war is horrifying. Number 10. Mind-blowing means very amazing. For example, modern medical technology is mind-blowing. They can even operate on a baby before it's born. Number 11. Miraculous means very fortunate. For example, this book tells the story of Henry's miraculous escape from a war-torn country. Miraculous is the adjective form of the word miracle, which means something that is so fortunate and so amazing that it seems supernatural. Number 12. Fearless means very brave. For example, he fearlessly walked into his boss's office and asked for a big raise. Fearless is the adjective, and fearlessly is the adverb form. Number 13. Absurd and preposterous mean very ridiculous. For example, that book contains some preposterous theories that go against the scientific consensus. The store won't give you a refund even though it was their mistake? That's absurd. Number 14. Frivolous means very unimportant or silly. For example, if you want to save money, you have to avoid making frivolous purchases like buying candy at the supermarket checkout. Number 15. Impeccable means completely perfect. For example, her academic record is impeccable and she's at the top of her class. Number 16. Jittery means very nervous. For example, most people are jittery on a first date. Try to relax and just be yourself. Number 17. Outstanding means very remarkable. For example, the results of the educational program were outstanding. More than 1,000 children were able to improve their grades. Number 18. Prestigious means very respected. For example, my internship at a prestigious law firm was a great start to my career. Number 19. Heartfelt means very sincere. For example, he made a heartfelt speech expressing his gratitude. Number 20. Vital means very important. For example, it's vital to pay attention to the road while driving. If you'd like to keep learning, check out my Vocabulary Builder course. It has 2 different levels, and each one has more than 500 useful English words. When you expand your vocabulary, you can express yourself more fluently in English. Click on the link in the video for more information. Compound adjectives in English from espressoenglish.net. Have you ever noticed some English words with hyphens between them? For example, a well-known author, an English-speaking country, a 3-hour movie, a part-time job, and a middle-aged woman. These are called compound adjectives, meaning an adjective that has 2 or more words. In this lesson, you're going to learn some compound adjectives with example sentences. We have compound adjectives with numbers. 3 second. There's a 3-second delay. 10-minute. Let's take a 10-minute break. 2-hour. She attended a 2-hour seminar. 5-day. He went on a 5-day trip. 6-week. We took a 6-week course. 1 month. The penalty for cheating is a 1-month suspension. 2-year. I have a 2-year contract with my cell phone provider. 4-year-old. I have a 4-year-old son. 12-story. We live in a 12-story apartment building. 20-page. He handed me a 20-page report. One common error is adding s. Don't use s at the end of compound adjectives with numbers. So don't say, let's take a 10-minute break. The correct sentence is, let's take a 10-minute break. We don't use s with compound adjectives with numbers. Another type of compound adjective is an adjective or an adverb plus a past participle. For example, narrow-minded. A person who is narrow-minded is not open to different ideas or thoughts. I can't stand narrow-minded people who are intolerant of new ideas. Well-behaved. They have 3 well-behaved children. Old-fashioned. We had lunch in an old-fashioned restaurant with decor from the 1950s. Densely populated. That means there's a lot of people in a small area. This densely populated area has the highest crime rates in the country. Short-haired. He was dancing with a short-haired woman. Widely recognized. She's a widely recognized expert in technology. High-spirited. This means with a lot of energy. The students gave a high-spirited musical performance. Well-educated. A lot of well-educated people are still having trouble finding jobs. Highly respected. Our speaker tonight is a highly respected scholar. Brightly lit. That means with a lot of bright light. We live on a brightly lit street in the city center. Absent-minded. If someone is absent-minded, it means they are forgetful or they don't think about things. For example, his absent-minded comment hurt his sister's feelings. Strong-willed. A strong-willed person has strong desires, is stubborn, and does not desist or give up. For example, she's a strong-willed woman who won't stop until she gets what she wants. Quick-witted. This means intelligent, clever, fast at thinking and discovering things. For example, the quick-witted detective solved the crime before anyone else had a clue. Middle-aged. A middle-aged person is around 40 or 50 years old. A lot of middle-aged men are dissatisfied with their lives. Kind-hearted is another way to say friendly and generous. For example, a kind-hearted stranger helped us find the train station. Another type of compound adjective involves having an adjective, adverb, or noun plus the present participle. That's the ing form. One example is good-looking. Someone who is good-looking is attractive, beautiful, or handsome. Who's that good-looking guy over there? Long-lasting. This long-lasting makeup will keep you looking lovely day and night. Record-breaking. The athlete's record-breaking performance won him the gold medal. Never-ending. Learning a language seems to be a never-ending process. Mouth-watering. This word is used to describe foods that seem delicious. They make your mouth produce saliva in anticipation of eating this delicious food. For example, there was a variety of mouth-watering desserts at the wedding reception. Thought-provoking. Something that is thought-provoking makes you think. It was a thought-provoking novel. Slow-moving. I was stuck in slow-moving traffic for over an hour. Far-reaching. The new law will have far-reaching effects in the economy. Time-saving. These time-saving techniques will help you work more efficiently. Forward-thinking. This means someone who thinks in a creative and innovative way and is not stuck in old habits of thinking. For example, some forward-thinking politicians are proposing reforms to the educational system. Finally, here are a few other compound adjectives. Ice-cold. There's nothing better than drinking an ice-cold lemonade on a hot summer day. Last-minute. I hate it when my boss wants to make last-minute changes to a publication. Full-length. The director produced his first full-length movie in 1998. World-famous. We had dinner at a world-famous Italian restaurant. Fat-free, meaning without containing any fat. These fat-free cookies are delicious. If you'd like to master the details of the English language and get feedback on your writing, check out the Advanced English Grammar course at espressoenglish.net. If you're an intermediate, upper intermediate, or advanced English learner, this course will help you take your English from good to great. Common adjective and preposition combinations from espressoenglish.net. Adjectives are words used to describe a person, place, or thing. For example, the tall man in the red shirt is a friend of mine. We drove along a quiet road until reaching a small town. I'm reading an interesting book. The words tall, red, quiet, small, and interesting are all adjectives. Prepositions are words used to connect two ideas or to demonstrate the relationship between two concepts. Examples of prepositions in English include at, in, on, for, to, with, and from. There are many cases in which adjectives are combined with prepositions, but there is no rule stating when to use each combination. As you read and listen to more English, you will become more and more familiar with how these adjective-preposition combinations are used. Here are a few of the most common combinations of adjectives and prepositions in English. At, surprised at, angry at, good at, terrible at. For example, I'm surprised at how fast my students are learning. My mother is angry at me because I forgot her birthday. Jamila is good at songwriting and painting. He's terrible at math. He failed the class twice. Of, proud of, afraid of, fond of, full of. For example, you practiced a lot and gave a great performance. I'm proud of you. Jewel is afraid of swimming in the ocean. The kids are very fond of the puppy. This means they like and love the puppy very much. The mall is always full of teenagers on the weekend. With, satisfied with, busy with, fed up with, associated with. I wasn't satisfied with the customer service at the bank. We've been working overtime lately because we've been busy with a new project. I was fed up with my boyfriend's lies, so I ended the relationship. Fed up with means I was tired of and annoyed with this situation. There are many health risks associated with smoking. In, disappointed in, skilled in, interested in, involved in. For example, the teacher was disappointed in the performance of the class. She was highly skilled in physics and chemistry. Giovanni is interested in classic English literature. Marlene is very involved in volunteer work. For, known for, good for, bad for, excellent for. For example, Brazil is known for its wonderful music and friendly people. Chocolate and red wine are actually good for your heart. Looking at screens all day is bad for your eyesight. Playing memory games is excellent for improving your brain function. 2. Married to, friendly to, similar to, rude to. For example, he's married to an Australian woman. Everyone I met on the trip was friendly to me. The movie is very similar to the book. The little boy was punished after being rude to his grandfather. Are you a more experienced English student looking for a challenge? Check out the Advanced English Grammar course available at espressoenglish.net. This course will help you master the advanced details of the English language so that you can take your English from good to great. The lessons also include personal feedback on your written English. Visit espressoenglish.net, click on Courses, and check out the Advanced English Grammar course. 10 negative adjectives in English from espressoenglish.net. Number 1. Hideous. Hideous means extremely ugly, the opposite of beautiful. The word hideous can also be used to describe things that are morally shocking or offensive. For example, I like this apartment, but those bright green curtains are hideous. In this sentence, hideous means extremely ugly. Hideous acts of torture were committed during the war. In this sentence, hideous means morally shocking or offensive. Number 2. Revolting. Repulsive. Both these words describe something that is disgusting. It makes you feel sick, and you have almost a physical reaction of wanting to get away from the thing. For example, The smell coming from the portable toilets was revolting. He was fired after he made a repulsive joke about his manager's sex life. Number 3. Stingy. Stingy is the opposite of generous. Someone who is stingy doesn't like to spend or give money, even in situations where they should. For example, she's so stingy that she doesn't even buy birthday gifts for her own mother. Number 4. Obnoxious. The adjective obnoxious is another way to say very annoying. You can describe a thing, a person, or someone's behavior as obnoxious. For example, my boyfriend's cell phone beeps every time he gets a message. It happens several times a minute, and it's so obnoxious. Number 5. Dysfunctional. Dysfunctional describes something that doesn't function properly. It is usually used for relationships or families that have unhealthy habits of interacting in ways that are not normal or positive. For example, Sarah has a dysfunctional relationship with her father, who wants to control every aspect of her life. Number 6. Spoiled. When used about food, spoiled means the food has gone bad. It's no longer suitable for eating. When used to describe a person, especially a child, it means the person usually gets everything they want and always expects this to happen. For example, "Ugh, my coffee tastes awful. I think the milk I put in it was spoiled." Timmy is a spoiled little boy who screams at his parents if they don't buy him candy. Number 7. Slimy. The adjective slimy is used to describe something with an unpleasant, wet, and slippery texture. Worms and snails are slimy. This word can also be used to describe a person who is dishonest, but who tries to hide it and be likable. For example, the riverbank was covered with slimy mud. I don't like slimy salespeople who try to get you to buy things you don't really need. Number 8. Callous. A person who is callous doesn't appear to have feelings or care about emotions. For example, how can you be so callous when people are suffering? Number 9. Dreary. The adjective dreary means something is boring, dark, and depressing. It is often used to talk about the weather, but can also be used to describe places, tasks, and events. For example, it wasn't the best weekend for camping. The weather was dreary. We didn't see the sun for 3 days. I grew up in a dreary, run-down neighborhood that I couldn't wait to leave. Number 10. Petty. A person who is petty places great importance on small problems, leading to conflict and bad feelings. For example, my sister's rather petty. She gets mad at me if I don't return her texts right away. When you improve your vocabulary, it's much easier to express your ideas in English. My Vocabulary Builder course can help you learn more than 1,000 new words in a practical and effective way. The lessons are short and simple, with lots of pictures and examples. Plus, the practice exercises help you use the new vocabulary immediately. Regular and extreme adjectives in English from espressoenglish.net. Adjectives are words that describe the qualities of something. Some adjectives in English are gradable. That means you can have different degrees or levels of that quality. For example, the weather can be a little cold, rather cold, very cold, or extremely cold. Extreme adjectives are words that automatically include the word extremely. For example, freezing means extremely cold. The weather can't be a little bit freezing or very freezing because the word freezing itself automatically means extremely cold. Here are some examples of regular and extreme adjectives. Furious means extremely angry. Awful, terrible, and horrible mean extremely bad. Huge, giant, and gigantic mean extremely big. Spotless means extremely clean. Packed means extremely crowded. Filthy means extremely dirty. Hilarious means extremely funny. Wonderful, fantastic, excellent, terrific, marvelous, and many other words mean extremely good. Boiling means extremely hot. Starving means extremely hungry. Fascinating means extremely interesting. Ancient means extremely old. Gorgeous means extremely pretty. Terrifying means extremely scary. Tiny means extremely small. Astounding means extremely surprising. Exhausted means extremely tired. And hideous means extremely ugly. There are some special rules for extreme adjectives. First, we don't use comparatives or superlatives. With regular adjectives, we can compare two or more things. For example, my house is big. My neighbor's house is bigger than mine. My parents' house is the biggest house on the street. Bigger is the comparative form, and the biggest is the superlative form. But with extreme adjectives, we don't use comparatives and superlatives. You can say, my parents' house is enormous, but you can't say more enormous or the most enormous. The second special rule with extreme adjectives is that we use different adverbs. With regular adjectives, we can use these adverbs: a little, a bit, slightly, fairly, rather, very, extremely, immensely, intensely, and hugely. For example, I'm rather hungry. I'm very hungry. You can't use any of these words with extreme adjectives. You can't say, I'm rather starving, or I'm very starving. With extreme adjectives, there are different adverbs used to add emphasis, like absolutely, completely, and utterly. So you can say, I'm absolutely starving. We're completely exhausted. The movie was utterly terrifying. Again, remember, you can't say very terrifying, because terrifying is an extreme adjective. The words really and pretty can be used with both regular and extreme adjectives. These words are more common in spoken English. For example, you can say, this room is pretty dirty, or this room is pretty filthy. Filthy is the extreme adjective, but we can use the adverb pretty with both. The party is really crowded. The party is really packed. Again, packed is an extreme adjective, but we use the word really to give some extra emphasis. Another type of extreme adjective is called an absolute adjective. These are words that are either yes or no. For example, dead. You can't be a little bit dead or very dead. Either yes, you are dead, or no, you're not dead. Here are some examples of absolute adjectives and their opposites: complete, incomplete, equal, unequal, essential, non-essential, dead, alive, fatal, not fatal, first, last or final, full, empty, ideal, not ideal, impossible, possible, infinite, finite, married, single, divorced, separated, widowed, etc. Perfect, imperfect, pregnant, not pregnant, unique, not unique, universal, not universal, unknown, known, true, false, Now, native speakers don't always follow the rules, so you might hear expressions like this. That's very true. It's the very first time. This shirt is more unique than that one. These sentences are not technically correct because we shouldn't use the words very or more with absolute adjectives. But, like I said, native speakers don't always follow the rules. Now you can take the quiz at the bottom of the lesson to test your knowledge of extreme adjectives. Thanks for watching English Tips from Espresso English. If you liked this video, please share it. Common English collocations, intensifying adverbs, from espressoenglish.net. Collocations are combinations of words that typically go together. In this lesson, you'll learn common collocations with the intensifying adverbs bitterly, deeply, highly, ridiculously, and strongly. Use bitterly with strong negative emotion. Bitterly disappointed, bitterly regret, bitterly resent, cry or complain bitterly. You can also say bitterly cold to describe weather that is extremely cold. Use deeply with emotions in general to emphasize that they are very strong. Deeply can be used with positive or negative emotions. Deeply appreciative, deeply ashamed, deeply concerned, deeply hurt, deeply moved, deeply offended. Use highly with probability words and others. Highly unlikely, highly probable, highly effective, highly controversial, highly profitable, highly recommended. Use ridiculously when something is so extreme it's hard to believe. Ridiculously cheap, ridiculously easy, ridiculously long, ridiculously small. Use strongly with verbs related to having or expressing opinions or beliefs. Strongly believe, strongly deny, strongly oppose, strongly feel, strongly dislike, strongly support, strongly influence. Thanks for watching English Tips from Espresso English. If you liked this video, please share it. 10 English Adverbs of Manner from espressoenglish.net. Adverbs are words that describe verbs or adjectives, and adverbs of manner tell us how or in what way an action was done. Here are some examples. He quickly drank the water. I laughed nervously. She read the letter carefully. Adverbs of manner are typically located in one of 3 places in the sentence. They can be immediately before the main verb. For example, he quickly drank the water. They can also be located immediately after the main verb. For example, I laughed nervously. If the main verb has an object, then make sure to put the adverb of manner either after the object or before the main verb. For example, you can say, she read the letter carefully, or she carefully read the letter. But don't say, she read carefully the letter. Don't put the adverb in between the verb and the object. Put it before the main verb or after the object. Adverbs of manner can help make your sentences more interesting because they add more detail to the situation. So today I'll teach you 10 adverbs of manner together with example sentences. Number 1. Anxiously. Anxiously can mean in a worried or nervous way or in an impatient way, wanting something to happen. For example, The mother watched anxiously as her child crossed the street alone. In this case, anxiously means worried. The mother was worried about the safety of her child. Everyone's waiting anxiously for the concert tickets to go on sale. In this case, anxiously means impatiently. We want the concert tickets to be available soon, as quickly as possible. Number 2. Awkwardly. Awkwardly means in a way that is not graceful or elegant. This can refer to physical movements that are not elegant, or to social behavior that is not elegant. For example, she apologized awkwardly after she realized she'd made an offensive comment. This refers to a social situation that is awkward, that is not elegant. The 4 of us awkwardly lifted the sofa onto the moving truck. In this case, awkwardly refers to a physical movement, lifting the sofa, that is not elegant. Number 3. Calmly. If you do something calmly, it means you do it in a way that is relaxed and not agitated. If you are calm, then your emotions and actions are at peace. For example, he calmly explained his point of view. The cat walked calmly along the fence. Number 4. Cautiously. If you do something cautiously, it means you do it carefully, in a reserved way, to avoid danger or something bad happening. For example, the rock climber cautiously adjusted his safety equipment. It's best to drive cautiously when the roads are icy. Number 5. Deliberately. If you do something deliberately, it means you do it intentionally, on purpose. It was not an accident. For example, the police think the fire was started deliberately. You deliberately ignored me when I asked you for help. Number 6. Eagerly. Eagerly means you are excited about something and you do the action with a lot of energy because you want something to happen. For example, the kids eagerly tore the wrapping paper off their Christmas presents. They are excited about the presents and they want to see them quickly, so they tear off the wrapping paper eagerly. I eagerly accepted the job offer. Number 7. Faithfully. Faithfully refers to something reliable. You can trust it and depend on it. For example, she has worked for this company faithfully for 10 years. This church has faithfully maintained its traditions. Number 8. Foolishly. The adverb foolishly describes an action that was stupid. It was not a good idea, and the person didn't consider the consequences before doing the action. For example, they foolishly spent all the money they inherited and didn't save any for the future. I foolishly committed to the project without knowing whether or not I'd have time for it. Number 9. Frantically. If you do something frantically, it means you take a lot of quick action because you are very nervous or in a rush. For example, I frantically took notes as the professor explained what would be on the test. The parents were searching frantically for their child who is lost in the park. Number 10. Gently. If you do something gently, it means you do it with soft, delicate, and careful movements so as not to hurt or damage something. Or it can also mean you do it with kindness so as not to hurt someone's feelings. For example, she gently patted the baby on the back. The boss gently explained that I needed to do better work. You can continue building your vocabulary by taking my Vocabulary Builder course. There are 2 levels of the course, and each one will teach you hundreds of new words. There's a discount if you buy both levels together. Click the link on the video for more information. 10 more English adverbs of manner from espressoenglish.net. You can make your sentences more interesting and more colorful by using adverbs of manner, which tell us how or in what way an action was done. For example, he quickly drank the water. I laughed nervously. She read the letter carefully. These adverbs of manner, quickly, nervously, and carefully, add more detail to the sentence. So today I'll teach you 10 more adverbs of manner. Number 1. Hastily. The adverb hastily is another way to say quickly or fast. It's also possible for hastily to have the connotation of being too fast without taking the time to do things properly. For example, I hastily packed my suitcase because I was already late for my flight. The ambulance arrived hastily at the scene of the accident. Number 2. Irritably. If you look at someone or say something irritably, it means you are demonstrating your annoyance or slight anger in your eyes or tone of voice. For example, he watched irritably as the mechanic fixed his car for the 3rd time this month. You always forget my birthday, she said irritably. Number 3. Painfully. The adverb painfully means that something causes pain. It makes part of your body hurt physically, or it causes an unpleasant or uncomfortable feeling. For example, I painfully stretched my legs after sitting in the same position for an 8-hour flight. This action made my legs hurt. It's painfully obvious that he's not qualified for the job. In this case, painfully obvious refers to something that makes us uncomfortable, even though it's not physically painful. Number 4. Poorly. The adverb poorly doesn't mean not having money. Instead, poorly means badly. For example, I was poorly prepared for the interview and I couldn't answer any of the questions. Many of the students did poorly on the final exam. Number 5. Promptly. The adverb promptly means without delay or on time. For example, the meeting will start promptly at 2 o'clock. She lay down and promptly fell asleep. Number 6. Recklessly. If you do something recklessly, it means you are not careful. You do things that might have a bad result in the future. For example, my sister spends money recklessly and now she's in a lot of debt. If we continue to use natural resources recklessly, we'll destroy the planet. Number 7. Reluctantly. If you do something reluctantly, it means you don't really want to do it. For example, he reluctantly admitted that he was wrong. My son reluctantly shared his toys with his classmates. Number 8. Repeatedly. If something happens repeatedly, it means it happens again and again, many times. For example, you were expelled from school because you repeatedly broke the rules. I've contacted the company repeatedly, but I haven't gotten a reply. Number 9. Smoothly. If something goes smoothly, it means it happens without difficulties or problems. For example, the negotiations went smoothly and it was easy to reach an agreement. Moving to a new house never goes smoothly. There's always some last-minute problem. Number 10. Wildly. The adverb wildly can mean in an uncontrolled way, or it can mean extremely. For example, she waved her hands wildly to attract the attention of a police officer. That joke you made was wildly inappropriate for a professional context. So now you know 10 more English adverbs of manner. And to continue your vocabulary building, check out my Vocabulary Builder course, where you can learn, Practice and improve your vocabulary so you can be more fluent.